Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please know that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmaster official speeches, or alternatively, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for membership are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video or audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Please welcome our club president, DTM Andy Byrne.
Okay, welcome everyone to Online Presenters. We are very excited that everyone's here. We hope everyone stays safe and is aware of the things that are going on. First off, we are in the final throes of reviewing for the officers, anyone else that wants to look at it, our Club Success Program. It's a 10-page document that talks about where we hope to be and see everyone involved in the club's activities, but most importantly, addressing what each member through the mentorship program and the VPE make sure that you get to where you want to be in this club. We also try to aggregate information that's going on around the web because we have ties, as many of you do, to other districts as well. I know coming up, there's going to be a lecture by Matt Kinsey, the incoming president of Toastmasters, or he's actually the president now of Toastmasters International. You might put a circle around August 16th when the next international meeting is taking place. The meeting from Nashville is up until October 26th, and you can still participate in that activity. But there are other activities. If you want to learn more about Zoom, learn more about pathways, there are programs in D47, for example, that you can plug into. And I'll be happy to post that as well. As far as what's going on, the usual, we're trying to help everybody do their thing. I'm going to post in a few minutes where we are as far as the dashboard and where we need our help. And thank you all for helping us. Back to the Toastmaster of the day.
Yeah, I think we're going to do inductions up front. So that's
Okay.
Kim.
Kim, you ready with your induction program?
I am. We have 2 of the 3 inductees here. So should we go ahead and I'm assuming just do the 2?
I guess, yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be appropriate.
So here we go. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, on behalf of Online Presenters Toastmasters, it is my duty and privilege to induct the following new members into our club: Sunny Fridge and Christine Campbell. This is an important occasion for both these individuals and for our club. As experienced speakers and Toastmasters, these individuals will enrich us as we strive to enrich them in the spirit of sharing and enjoyment. Together, we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. New members, please wait until I call on each of you individually to affirm your commitment to the Toastmaster promise. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And honestly, where did I ever get that? Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, let's see.
Ready?
Try now.
Now you can share.
Okay, trying to find my. You know what? Can we do this in just a minute? I am so sorry. I switched computers and I don't have the presentation up and ready to share. I am so sorry.
Or why don't we do it right when we had a space reserved on the agenda for the prospective member speech? We can do it in that time slot.
Please accept my apologies to the new members. I am so sorry. I had major computer problems today. And I honestly, that's why I wasn't logged on earlier. And I really apologize.
Okay, our Toastmaster of the day is Rosina Duncanson. Rosina, you are mute.
I'm on mute. Thank you so much, Carolina. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everybody here and listening to the replay. Our theme for this evening is favorite sports. And I hope you have a favorite sport. I know I have one based on what's happening in the season. What I did before this particular rule got started, I did some research. And I went to sportytell.com and their June 20th session, and they had a top 10 list of sports based on fans, global reach, the population in a certain region. And guess what one was 10th? Golf. Golf is number 10 with 450 million fans. Next up was rugby with 475 million. Baseball had 500 million fans. Basketball, 825 million. Table tennis, 875 million. Volleyball, 900 million. Tennis, 1 billion fans. Hockey had 2 billion. Cricket had 2.5 billion. And the Association of Football, as we know, soccer, had 4 billion fans, coming in at number 1. I encourage you all to put in the chat what your favorite sport is. But while you're doing that, please put your hands together as I welcome our tip of the day, David Carr. David Carr, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I'm going to share a couple of thoughts about using PowerPoint. And I know we have people who talk about cool and new stuff like Prezi, which is cool and new, and I need to spend some time learning about Prezi. But PowerPoint is still kind of the lowest common denominator technology. And I think some of the tips that I'm going to share about using PowerPoint effectively, but also apply to using Keynote effectively, using Prezi effectively. But because a large part of what I want to focus on is being prepared going into your presentation. And that's not aimed at you, Kim, but you can take it as a tease if you like. But try and be ready with your technology all warmed up in the background and ready to go the moment that you are introduced, so that you can start very smoothly into sharing your screen. And I'm going to start by showing you what not to do. This is one of the things that I would say not to do, which is to share your slides in, this is called the slide sorter view. This is the place where you come to rearrange your slides, to add your slides, to author your slides. But it's supposed to be for you to see, not for you to share with your audience. So what you ought to be doing is making sure you find your way up to share slides, and then we can share them on the bigger screen, and people may actually be able to see the text a little bit better sharing it this way. And there are some complications with doing this on Zoom too, because we have the little, if you have the little floating views of the other speakers, it may be covering up some of the text. But that's a good reason not to depend too much on text embedded in your PowerPoint slides. Use it to share visuals more than text. And here's another thing to avoid that I see fairly often. Now, if this is what's being shared to the audience, that probably means that you have 2 monitors. You have another monitor connected to your laptop or your computer, but you're sharing the wrong screen, because this, again, is supposed to be a behind the scenes view. This is what the presenter in a traditional setting would have the computer propped up on the lectern in front of them, and they could see what slide was coming up next. They could see a counter showing that the time going by. So there are some useful things in this view, but it's not what you're supposed to be sharing with the audience. And people just get confused. I think this is actually a default in the current version of PowerPoint, that if you have two monitors connected, this is going to come up. Now you can turn it off. There's a checkbox on the ribbon of buttons up top. So you can uncheck presenter view, which is what I usually do. Otherwise, if you are going to use it, make sure you share the correct screen. So with a two screen setup, screen 2 shows up separately above. So I could either share screen 2 or I could share the specific application. Now, actually, PowerPoint shows up 3 times. It shows up as that presenter view, it shows up as the slide sorter view, and it shows up as the screen, the full screen presentation that I actually want to share. So I want to share either the full screen or that presenter view. Now, I posted a video that actually has some more detail on this that I shared in the chat. So, but I'm going to share just an excerpt from.
So what I would want to do before I even start speaking, before the Toastmaster of the day introduces me, or whoever's introducing me introduces me, I want to get this fired up in the background. And so this slide is, one monitor setup. It's on my main screen, and I'm going to do Alt-Tab. On a Mac, it would be Command-Tab to get back to Zoom. And now when I go to screen share, the first thing that's going to be displayed is my slides. So I can open up. Now, I'm not saying it would be a good idea for Abraham Lincoln to have given the Gettysburg Address as a slideshow presentation, but if he did, he might want to do the opening part, the 7 years ago, the powerful introduction, and then say, and now I'm going to show you a few slides and charts about casualties during the war. So you give your powerful introduction, and then you click to share, and your slides are right there. You go through the slides, you're going to use them just for what they accomplish for you. You're using them for where they enhance your presentation. You don't want to be hiding behind your slides. You don't want to be using your slides as a crutch just to tell you where you are in your presentation. And when you get to the big finish, you might want to click on Stop Share and go back and talk directly to your audience, try and create that illusion of eye contact, that personal connection, answer some questions. Don't leave your slides up when they're not doing anything to advance your presentation.
All right.
So what I would want to do.
Oh. All right. So technology will always betray you at the worst possible time. But that said, when things are working right, when you are prepared, you can do better than I've seen a bunch of people doing in this club. And I would like you all to make a strong positive impression for online presenters when somebody comes to visit. It says, these people really know what they're doing. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much for our tip of the day. I'm now going to ask if our helpers for this evening could go ahead and introduce themselves and let us know what they will be doing in their role. We'll start first with our timer for this evening, the voice you've heard before. Distinguished Toastmaster, David Carr.
All right. So once I have a moment to futz with some more technology, I'll have it set up to show the different colors at the appropriate intervals. So for table topics, you will see green at 1, yellow at 1:30, and red at 2. I believe Carl is actually doing an icebreaker tonight, 4 to 6 minutes. So 4, 5, and 6. And for the 5 to 7 minute speech, it will be 5, 6, and 7. When the red light comes on, you have 30 seconds to wrap it up. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much. And our R counter for this evening, Andre Smolenko.
Well, thank you, Rosina. My role is simple for today. I'm an R counter. I will be looking out for so-called crutch words. Ha, yes, so on, pauses, repetitive words, all the lots. This is what I'm going to do. I will be listening very, very carefully to every single one of us, speaking nicely and calmly, and I'm making the list of all the crutch words that hopefully I will be able to present in a short presentation at the end of the meeting. So look out, I'm coming for you.
Thank you so much, Andre. And our grammarian for this evening, Kim Leeming.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Rosina. The theme of the day for today is favorite sports, and the word of the day is sportsmanship, which means to conduct yourself with respect to fairness, respect for one's opponent, graciousness in winning or losing, and becoming to one participating in a sport. So I'm going to be on the lookout for everyone's use of the word sportsmanship today. And I'll also be looking for colorful words of just any words in the English language as you're doing any of your speaking roles tonight. So back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Rosina.
Thank you.
Oh, and by the way, my role tonight is also to provide a what not to do for tip of the day by David. And I really apologize if you guys had any idea of how much time I actually did prepare for this. I had a whole setup with a different computer, figured out that in the past few weeks, this should be another tip of the day. Make sure you're using your better computer with a better graphics card. So I don't know if you noticed, I've been pixelating a lot. Anyway, changed computers, but did not pull the PowerPoint over to the new computer. So I apologize. Back to you, Rosina.
You are quite all right, Kim. Our watcher for this evening, Marianne Grady.
Hey folks, tonight I'll be watching you. And my job is to just see how you're situated in your square, make sure your lighting is good. We want to make sure that we make a great visual presentation. So I'll be giving you some tips and pointing out some things that might be able to be improved. Back to you, Rosina.
Thank you, Marianne. And our chat monitor for this evening, Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As the chat monitor this evening, I will be, are you ready for this? Monitoring the chat. Now, I'm going to be doing this for two reasons. One, if someone demonstrates a lack of sportsmanship in their Toastmaster activities and it gets noted in the chat, I will bring it to our Toastmaster's attention so that she doesn't have to be constantly looking at the chat itself. But the primary thing is at the end of the meeting, I will provide a summary to my fellow Toastmasters of anything that was important in the chat that they might want to go back and take a note of. And I will, as I say, do that at the end of the meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. And our vote counter for this evening, Carolina Ramirez.
Hello, everyone. My role as a vote counter is to count the votes for the best speaker, the best evaluator, and the best table topic speaker. I will send you a link, and I'll put the link on the chat. Back to you, Rosina.
Thank you so much, Carolina. And thank you to all our helpers who will be behind the scenes. You'll hear their reports later on in the meeting. Now coming up, our speaker number one, speaking on the topic, Why Elizabeth II Mattered, a study in leadership from the Motivational Strategies Path, Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals. This is the icebreaker. Carl Walsh is a professional member of the National Speakers Association and is one of very few Americans to have graduated from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. He spent 20 years on the stage as an actor, director, writer, then found business to be a greater challenge with greater rewards. He spent 28 years in corporate America with such companies as Warehouse Music, C&R Clothiers, the Walt Disney Company, and Smart and Final Stores. He has since helped people from all walks express their ideas effectively. He was one of the finalists, the 10 finalists of the Toastmasters World Championship of Public Speaking in 2009, and was featured in Toastmasters magazine for his use of theater games to express his points. He now acts as a consultant and speaker on business management, to professionals and MBA schools, especially on the topic of drawing out the problem-solving creativity locked up within the workforce, and is a co-host of The Oval Table, the podcast for small business. Today, Carl will be delivering an icebreaker, and he hopes to tell you a little bit about himself by giving you a look at what he considers to be one of the most important elements of leadership. Welcome, Carl.
The English monarchy is a useless, outdated institution needing to be disbanded. It is pointless and it is expensive. That's what I thought the first years that I lived in London. Then, on October 25th, 1976, easy date to remember, it was my 22nd birthday, I found myself in the presence of Queen Elizabeth II. I felt the effect that she had on me, the way she communicated with her eyes, with her smile, even with her movements. But was I just starstruck, against everything that I believed about the institution? Well, as the evening wore on, I saw the effects that she had on the others. Now, it was a very large gathering. It was mostly members of the House of Lords and the House of Parliament. Now, these people have seen the Queen many times. They've spoken to her directly. Some of the older ones probably have seen her countless times. So why were they every bit as affected as I was? As a figurehead above the fray of politics, she represented the country in a living and breathing form. Now, in this country, here in the United States, we are expected to take a loyalty oath reminiscent of the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany to a piece of cloth. That cloth is vague and amorphous. It can represent anything that the beholder wants it to. And part of the strength of the British people is that they give allegiance to something above the gutter politics that any democracy experiences. They give allegiance to a symbol embodied by a family that is human, that has faults, that makes mistakes, just like a regular family, just like their own families, and maybe just like yours too. And that is a much stronger bond than anything that we have here. The British are fortunate to have something that we do not and that we sorely need. It would mean that we could give our allegiance to a set of ethics and aspirations represented by real human beings, and it wouldn't matter what jerk is president or what fools are in Congress. It's human nature. People matter more than a mere piece of cloth, with a pledge that has no meaning for hardly anyone anymore. And if you don't believe me on that, just listen to them recite it like zombies. Now, it is difficult for some people to pledge allegiance to a president leaning a little to left, and it's difficult for others to pledge allegiance to a president that leans a little to right. So any kind of allegiance to a national leader here is pretty much out of the question. Besides, presidents come and go. But the monarchy, which stands above both of these things, represents the country and its aspirations, and that's easy. The British have created an ingenious system where the monarchy has no legislative power, no ability to impose rules over their people, yet they have a tremendous effect of community, continuity, and calm, and the occasional really great gossip. And this is what makes them great. I'm not saying we'll ever have a constitutional monarchy like England's here. We're far too immature a country for that. And there's a impulse here towards dictatorship that is far too strong. And that's not our fault, really. Think of it, the British system has evolved over more than 1,000 years. It's very mature. but it's still worth considering what Elizabeth II represented and the ideals she embodied: loyalty, constancy, calmness in the face of strife, and dedication to her people and her country. These are the elements of leadership that she exercised. These same elements can translate to a leader in business, believe it or not, and in the community. I mean, think about it. Loyalty, constancy, calmness in the face of strife, and dedication. Who wouldn't want to work with someone like that? Remember, she held no power, no involvement with the decision-making of government except in a purely advisory role, and yet she garnered the respect of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you, this is what respect looks like. And I'm going to give you one more leadership skill that Elizabeth demonstrated. Let us not take ourselves too seriously. None of us has a monopoly on wisdom. That's right, a sense of humor. If you're a leader, a sense of humor is pure gold. Never forget it. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Carl. A wonderful recap of what she would have brought to the world of leadership. Our second speaker, the topic, CPR, communication, problem solving results. From the Visionary Communication Path, Level 5, demonstrating expertise, lessons learned. Tricia is going to summarize the lessons she learned from an ongoing online circle group work project involving co-leading monthly meetings focused on quarter instructional topics that facilitate discussion, create new ideas to implement, incorporate practices, and use to evaluate results of student performance. Please help me welcome Tricia Smith.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters friends, guests. I'm going to reiterate how it was introduced. I have talked about this topic before. It is part of a work project. I thought it would be very appropriate to use a slideshow presentation. So I hope I meet the criteria for a good slideshow presentation, even though I'm not using Prezi. So to start with, this was already stated in terms of the purpose of the presentation. I did come up with a poem that I wanted to share. This is very appropriate because the title of the faculty circles that I'm involved with at an educational institution that I work at, which is an online school in Florida, that provides programs on medical career education. Circles represent never-ending learning. They're never ending. This is a poem by Francis Dugan. We never stop learning, as some like to say, and from life we do learn something new every day. We will be learning from life until the day we die. I only quote fact, and fact never lies. And the more we do learn, the more we realize that we are not so clever that this not a surprise. In our journeys through life, many errors we make, but we learn as we live from our every mistake. As we follow the course of our life's destiny, and you are what you are, and this is all you can be, the happy with their lot in a minority. They are a rare breed, those known as carefree, and in life as in all things, the losers are many and the winners are few. Though to this, you may say, this to us is not new. Francis Dugan. Now the real topic. This is about lessons I learned in a project that has been a year-long project ongoing. Again, I work in an educational institution, 100% online. I have only met 3 people that I've worked with face-to-face, so it kind of adds to the challenges. These groups are involves monthly meeting, and the circles are groups of 25 faculty, adjunct, full-time, with 2 co-leaders. I'm one of the leaders of our circle. Our circle is the Stellar Circle. So we meet monthly, we have monthly topics, and this is pretty much the scope of it. These involve co-learnings, monthly meetings. They focus on quarterly roundtable meetings, which are held at the end of each quarter. The goals are to facilitate discussion within the group meetings within the faculty members, so instructors have a voice about what's being implemented and how they do their jobs in terms of managing the course room and the effects on the students' performance. We talk about new ideas at the initial meetings for each quarter based on the desired topics, the topics that are already in place. And we implement new ideas. We give the information to administration. We get the ideas based on the consensus of each group that are approved. We talk about the results and how they impact the students' learning with the second meeting and then the third meeting. And then we have our roundtable meetings. Then the administration takes the results of all the faculty members' meetings and circles, and they implement new practices. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. So the purpose, again, of these faculty circle groups to create better strategies, to analyze current strategies, to implement new methods, and to engage students specifically to improve their performance. Bottom line, to help the students learn. These are the topics that we've been implementing for this year. The first quarter involved reading strategies. The second, communication. The third, direct instructions. We just finished our third quarter. Now we're going to our roundtable, and the fourth quarter will be about inspiring students, which we do all of these things on a regular basis anyway. Reading, communication, instruction, and inspiration. Those are the 4 topics for the 4 quarters. On this screen, I've just kind of showed some ideas that have been implemented within those quarter time frames. Reading strategies using digital tools. The textbooks are digital. They have options of flashcards, study guides, reading strategies. How do we do that? We communicate with students, student to student learning, student to student interaction, student to teacher interaction, etc. We have monthly meetings between the faculties, and we communicate with the students on a daily basis and using different methods. 100% online, no face-to-face contact. Multiple methods. These multiple methods include emails, IMs, videos, audio messages. So the communication and the instruction go together, and we are always inspiring our students. We use a lot of images within our announcements on the courses, and we set up our courses dynamically to get their attention and keep them engaged. The monthly circle meetings lead to the roundtables at the end of each quarter, and that leads to the administration decisions based on cumulative information on the results of all of the different circles and what they're going to implement for everybody to follow for better practices and best practices for learning and instruction methods. I've got some examples here in terms of how we actually conduct the meetings. We have preparation meetings involving the leadership of each circle, and then we have the invites sent out to the faculty members. We have big group circles. We have 25 members in each circle. So I'm going to present the problems with the experience of that and the lessons I've learned following this slide. And then the follow-up are the quarterly roundtable meetings where everybody gets together, everyone's invited, and we all just collaborate the ideas and implementation and information and make decisions and vote on best practices and what's going to be implemented going forward. Part of this presentation required me to do a 360 evaluation, and this is the criteria that was used. Was there a clear sense of purpose and direction of responsibility with each of these projects? I went back through the whole process of the whole entire year. That's why I wanted to give the whole picture of the whole project that's still ongoing. Did everybody act and behave in a manner that was consistent with their statements? Were the meetings managed well? Were the issues addressed in an effective manner? Was there constructive feedback given and taken in a timely basis? And was conflict managed effectively? This is where I saw my concerns and problems that I identified myself. It was not something I did get to address these problems with my supervisor, and the way that I addressed the problem, I'm going to explain. So the meeting attendance is a problem because out of all those people involved, we only have a very few people showing up to our meetings, less than 10 of 25 people or more invited, not including the leaders. Cooperation among the leaders that are planning the meetings. Nope, that wasn't very clear. So I always do things based on getting the job done. So I'm non-judgmental, non-critical, professional. I'm going to get the job done. So if it needs to get done, I'll do it. And that seems to be the way the trend went. I CC'd all of my specific program director after speaking with her about the issues that I saw as a problem to attempt to solve the problem. It ended up going to on a higher level to administration. Well, their solution was combining 2 circles together. So problem solved. We have more people working together. Did it solve the problem with attendance? Nah, not quite, but at least it's more effective with the leadership involved and the smoothness of how the meetings are going and planning and the distribution of the workload. Summary of my lessons learned. Communication is important. It's part of our daily lives. Engaging and motivating others, students, faculty, it's all part of the process. Reaching out to support as needed to solve problems and concerns to get results needed. So this is what I did, and it solved the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia, for sharing your experience.
You're welcome.
Mr. Timer, can we get the timer's report, please? We can't hear you, Mr. Timer.
Sorry about that. See, so Carl was at 6:15. I believe Tricia was a little over 8 minutes, so she would have been overtime. So Carl wins by default. There is no need to vote.
Thank you so much. I am now going to ask our Vice President Membership, Kim Leeming, to assist us with the induction of our members. Kim Leeming, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day, Rosina. We now join the new member induction ceremony for Sunny Fridge and Christine Campbell, already in progress. Please excuse the technical delay. So new members, please wait until I call on each of you individually to affirm your commitment to the Toastmaster promise. Let me go ahead and start the slide presentation. Can everybody see the slide presentation? So, okay, we are now doing the new member induction for Sunny Fridge and Christine Campbell. So, as in the presence of the fellow online presenters, do you pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to evaluate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with our fellow members, and to bring other new members into the club so that they can gain the benefits of Toastmasters? Sunny, please unmute and say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. And Christine, please unmute and say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. We are very excited to welcome you both into Online Presenters Toastmasters. To the current members of Online Presenters, I remind you of your pledge to support these new members in their quest for self-development, to provide them with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, and to make their Online Presenters Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, new members, Sunny and Christine. Welcome to Online Presenters. Attendees, please unmute and give them a round of applause.
Yay.
One of us, one of us, one of us.
Thank you, thank you. And Yao Jinping is now here. Are you ready, Yao, to give your prospective member speech?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, but can you give me 5 minutes?
Sure. Would we mind doing his speech after the evaluations?
Well, why don't we do it after table topics?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you very much.
then back to you, table Toastmaster of the day, Rosina.
Thank you so much, Vice President Membership, and welcome, welcome, welcome to our newest members of online presenters. Now for the exciting session of impromptu speaking. Help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Graham Carnes, who's going to be our topics master for this evening.
Everybody get cheered up because we're talking sport. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, everybody. The purpose, and we're all Toastmasters here, so I don't need to belabor this point, but the purpose of table topics is to teach us to speak extemporaneously, to speak without notice on a subject that we have no idea what we're going to be asked about, except that we know that we're going to be asked about sport because that's what the theme of this meeting is. So we're going to do that. I'm going to begin with one of the people who has no other speaking role tonight, and that is Andy Byrne. Dr. Byrne, I want you to tell us about your best sports moment, either your personal best sports moment or the best sports moment that you've ever observed. So my best sports moment, Andy Byrne, for a time of 1 to 2 minutes with lights at 1, 1.5, and 2, please, timer.
Oh, thank you very much, Graham. My best sports moment, let me think, probably goes back to high school. I was playing American soccer. I was a wing. For those not familiar with the sport, it's the person that's on the outside of the grouping of people, and I run up and down the field and take an opportunity to score a goal whenever I can. We were tied, and it was coming down to the last minutes of the game. The ball came out in my direction. I hit it, and it went into the goal. The goalie was completely flabbergasted because they had no idea that it was coming and that I was taking a shot. That was my best moment. Everybody cheered me. They didn't raise me on their shoulders or carry me around, but it was a point where everyone on the team appreciated what I had done. This is not unlike what happens in Toastmasters, where you have teams of people and you're working all together, and that working together makes a difference. Everyone on the team appreciates your efforts. Everyone on this team appreciates the efforts that you take in accomplishing the goals that make this experience for all of us much better. David's given me a green signal. So at this point, I'm going to return it back to Graham.
Thank you, Andy Byrne. And as they might say in Carolina's part of the world, goal! Well done. Lou, we've heard about Andy's best sports moment. From you, your worst sports moment, either personally or the worst that you've ever seen.
Actually, I think I can combine both my worst sports moment along with my best sports moment, all in 1 to 2 minutes, Mr. Topics Master. I played basketball as a kid. It was my favorite sport. I actually wanted to be a pro basketball player, but given I was 5'9", and I'm still 5'9", maybe 5'8" at this point, I realized it was never going to happen, but it didn't deter me from trying my best to be my best. I realized, though, no matter how much I practice, no matter how long I practice, no matter how hard I practice, whenever I got on the court, I would essentially freeze. I almost forgot all the training I did. I sometimes would make mistakes with my dribbling and my passing, and it just drained my confidence. And with each time, it felt like I was becoming worse and not better. And I remember so many instances of getting my shots blocked, getting the ball stolen from me. And it was really just a downer. But I said, you know what? I am going to practice and practice and practice. One particular move that really was the thing that prevented me from just getting a shot in, because I love doing layups, but because of my height, again, I was always getting the ball knocked out of me. I practiced dribbling between my legs, doing a little pivot move, and driving to the hoop and doing a layup with my left hand, because my right hand is my dominant hand. And I thought maybe this is a way to fool everyone, or at least allow me to get a shot in. I practiced that and practiced that and practiced that for probably 3 weeks, even though during that time when I was playing games, I was still getting my shots blocked. But boy, when that moment came, I said, this is it. I got to do it. I did the little dribble move under my legs. I did my pivot where I swung around and got around the defender. I drove right to that hoop. And of course, center dude's thinking I'm going to drive to the right side. He's all set to block my shot. Bing, bang, boom. I snuck around, went to the left and did my little whoop layup with my left hand. And whoo, I just had to celebrate. I only got 2 points that game, but it was the best 2 points of that game and of my life. I loved it. Back to you, Topics Master.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you. I thought White Men Can't Jump. Wasn't that a movie? It doesn't matter if you can fade and fool people. That's all that really counts. One of our newest members is Christine. And Christine has no other speaking role other than to say yes. And so she does get a table topic as well. Gee, there's a surprise. Christine, I want you to tell me about your least favorite sport. My least favorite sport, Christine Campbell.
Excellent topic. DTMs, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. It's exciting. Sports is exciting. As you can tell by my background, mine is racing. Being involved in it so many years, on all facets of it, yes, behind the steering wheel too, and different types of cars, from 13 different types of race cars, whether it's Indy, Formula, NASCAR, you name it, I've been in the seat. The least favorite that I have is absolutely nothing. I love them all. I love competition. I think it's absolutely fabulous. Now, football, when I was young, my brother was a star kicker on the football team for high school. And he would make sure that I was the one holding the football while he could kick it over the house across the street. Well, I thought it was cool that I got to be the one to run and go get it and come back and do it all over again. And I'll tell you what, I was so proud of my brother. It was amazing. Now, do I understand the sport? I go to football games because we have grandkids in there. I just nudge my husband and I say, what are they doing now? I know through all this time, I should know, but I sure watch that kicker put that over the goalie when it's time to get that extra point. With that, it's absolutely incredible to have some kind of sport that you're excited about so you can cheer and hoorah. But have you ever tried it behind the wheel? Take one of the racing schools. Back to you.
Thank you, Christine. My wife is a huge motor racing fan. I mean, if it has wheels and goes fast, she'll watch it. If it has wheels and goes slow, she'll still watch it. If it doesn't have wheels, but it goes fast, she'll watch it. We're boarding a cruise ship in 10 days' time, and Australia's biggest motor race is on that day. So I suspect that we will board the ship, grab a cocktail, and sit down in front of the big screen to watch Bathurst. But that's all right. I can live with this because I can bet on that. On the subject of betting on games and sports, Marianne. And for the next 3 table topics, because we are running out of time, because we have Jason's speech to come, I'm going to ask the last 4 participants to reduce themselves to 60 seconds for table topics. So David, if I can have lights at 30 seconds, 45 and 60, that would be good. Marianne, have you ever bet on a game or a sport, and how did it go?
Well, Graham, I have bet on the horse races. Now, we had a track not that far from our house when we lived in New Jersey, and usually about once a summer we would go there. I always found it very enjoyable. The most I've ever won was about $700. So that was a great day, and I don't usually lose a lot because I'm cheap. But we went one year, and I thought I will never go back to the horse races again, because I was watching and a horse fell down during the race. Oh, I couldn't take it. My heart was breaking watching this. Then they pulled the screen across so you couldn't see what they were doing, and they carried this poor animal off the thing. I won't go back. But I did do a little time with the horse racing. It was good while it lasted, but not for me anymore. Back to you, Graham.
Thank you, Marianne. Yeah, it's tough when that happens, and I'm not a great fan of horse racing for specifically that reason. Andre, it's going to be fairly obvious, I think, but I'm asking you, what is your favorite sport for 60 seconds? Andre Smolenko.
Chess boxing. I bet you did not expect that. Chess boxing is the actual sport. You will be really, really surprised. And the reason for it is one of my favorite sports. It's not because I enjoy it, and it's not because it's something exciting about it. I like surprising people because they just don't believe me. They just don't believe that chess boxing exists. And just for you, my fellow online presenters, if you really want, just Google it. Go on Wikipedia and you will see. There is the World Championship of Chess Boxing. And you can probably guess there are a few countries right on top of the list of greatest chess boxers. One of them is United Kingdom, is where I live. The second one is Russia, of course. One of them, Ukraine as well. And you can win, surprisingly enough, not only by knocking someone in the face, but using your head and making a move, making a mat. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Andre. Chess boxing, that I must admit is not a game that I have ever heard of, although I do like to play contact Trivial Pursuit. When anybody beats me, I hit them. If chess can be considered a sport, and it is considered a sport, Jim, what else could be considered a sport? And no, not competitive drinking.
Oh, darn, you just eliminated my answer, Mr. Topics Master. Wow. I was going to argue for competitive drinking because for a number of reasons. Number one, it is the oldest sport in existence. I mean, what they have got hieroglyphics in the Great Pyramid showing Egyptians engaged in competitive drinking. And so it dates back thousands of years. Another great thing about competitive drinking is so many other sports are so hung up on the rules. Have you ever looked at the American Football League rule book? It's like a phone directory, if you could remember back to the days when we had phone directories. I mean, it's incredible, all the rules that define the game. But the great thing about competitive drinking isn't that it doesn't have any rules, it does, but nobody can remember what the rules are once you get into the game. So it's a fabulous sport, and I think everybody should partake in that at some point or another. Cheers, Mr. Topics Master.
Cheers. And I like Carl's comment, last man standing, literally. All right, one last table topic. I know that we are running out of time. So again, 60 seconds if we can. Carolina, can you tell us about a sport that is played where you are and pretty much nowhere else? A sport that's played where you are and pretty much nowhere else.
And in Chile, in the south, they play something called chueca. It's similar to hockey, but without rollers in your feet, on your feet. And the idea is the same, to put the ball inside a goal. I don't know how to say that, but and the people, the Indian people or indigenous people used to play that here in Chile. And I don't think chueca is a game played anywhere outside Chile. That's my answer.
And you hit the green light. So well done. Congratulations on that, Carolina. Must come to Chile just so I can watch chueca. I've got no idea how to play it, but that's all right. Gives me an excuse to go to Chile. I can't think of anything else. And that, Mr. or Madam Toastmaster, in fact, Toastmaster of the day, Rosina, is yours.
Thank you so much, Topics Master. Fabulous questions on the topic. I'm going to pass it back to our Vice President Membership, Kim Leeming. We have a prospective member speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day. Yao Jinping will now give his prospective member speech. This will be a 2 to 3 minute speech to describe his speaking background and further introduce himself to our club. Please welcome guest speaker, Yao Jinping.
Thank you very much to Kim Learning, and it's really my pleasure to present myself here. So first of all, I would like to present my name. Hi there, my name is Jason. And for information, I mean, you could tell me, you could address me as Yao as well. So for your information, I'm starting my A-level journey this September. Yeah, right, this September. As I said before, I live in Malaysia, and I've been part of member of MEF Club since this April. MEF Club is actually one of the Toastmaster clubs in international. So my experience in public speaking, I would say back in my secondary school, I had joined several international competitions and been presenting my prototype to the judge and the guests. So I believe that I do acquire the basic of public speaking, but I know, and we all know that the learning of public speaking is literally endless. Am I right? So once you've done one step and you know that you still have few more steps, hundreds more steps, thousands more steps to improve. So my life quote is no pain, no gain. At this point, you know that I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up on my way to pursuing public speaking. Well, the first reason actually why I joined Toastmaster, the very first reason is that to prepare my presentation, to prepare my interview. So in order to make me have a better standing among candidates, Toastmaster actually offered me the best floor for me to polish my skill, no matter my public speaking skill, interview skill, and critical thinking skill. But now, if you were to ask me why and what is the first reason I choose Toastmaster, I would say to meet friends, to gain confidence, and to learn together with my fellow friends. So I really appreciate the chance to learn from all of you, and I would like to learn more from all of you and be part of Online Presenter Club's member. Before I end my introduction speech, one thing I had to confess to all of you is that since I'm starting my A-level journey this September, and I see through the times tables, it's actually quite hectic, and the time is crashing sometimes. So I cannot really promise a full attendance in Online Presenter Club. But to be honest, I really enjoy the Online Presenter Club's meeting very, very much. So I will definitely make sure myself to attend the meeting every time if I get a chance to do so. Yeah, so that's all from me.
Thank you, Yao, for that wonderful speech and giving us your background in Toastmasters. And I also want to say to everyone on here that Yao was a guest more than twice before, but on the first 2 times he was a guest, he went ahead and answered table topics, and the first time actually won best table topic. I am so impressed by that and have yet to do anything even close to that. So we do not have enough for a quorum, so we will be conducting the vote for Yao via email, and Yao will get to you in a few days. And back to you, Toastmaster today, Rosina.
Thank you so much to both you, Kim and Yao, for your presentation. I now want to call on our general evaluator for this evening, for her and the team. Please help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Sunny Fridge.
All right. Go team, go team. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, and a warm welcome to our guest. For the benefit of our guest, I'm the general evaluator today, and I conduct the evaluation portion of our meeting. I'll be calling on an all-star team to assist me with giving feedback to our speakers, and I will evaluate the meeting as well. Let's get started. Help me welcome evaluator number 1, Toru Mariyama. He will evaluate the speech given by speaker number 1, Carl Walsh.
I am evaluating Tricia Smith.
Sorry.
This is my assignment.
Let me find.
I am prepared to do Carl or Tricia, so I can do Carl if you prefer.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going, sometimes you have to come in and have a pinch hitter. So I would like to call on evaluator number 2 to step up to the plate. Rick, darling, please evaluate our speaker number 1, Carl Walsh.
Carl, good evening. And I want to compliment you right out of the chute. Excellent speech on a lot of levels. I want to tell you that I enjoy listening to your voice because your voice is very, very solid. You've got a lot of experience, obviously, with all the things that you've done, and your voice definitely shows that experience. You use variation in your voice effectively. The pace that you used today was perfect for the topic. And in addition to that, a lot of pauses that were absolutely spot on that give the audience that great opportunity to catch up to what you are trying to relate. Across the board, a lot of really cool things that you did. One of the things that I always like seeing is the use of the camera to bring intimacy into what somebody is presenting, especially when they're getting into something and they want to get people's attention. That opportunity to lean into the camera, that's a golden thing to do. Very well done. A couple of things I want to offer to you as suggestions. One, I don't know what was going on, and right now it doesn't appear to be going on, but either you were jiggling or your camera was jiggling. Something was going on there. Don't know what was causing it, but it was something that I think you can take a look at and see if there's some way to help remove that from the situation. Another one that I will offer up is the use of your video. At the end, I actually love that Queen Elizabeth quote. Absolutely stellar. But you were still hovering and moving around behind it. If there was some way to cause that to be muted so that the quote stood alone, or if you could have stood off to one side of the camera, all of that would have made it a lot more effective, because that's a really cool quote. And I really did appreciate that you brought it up. One last item that I'll offer to you is, I'm not sure what's going on again, but you do tend to look down a lot. Maybe that's where your camera is, but you're not maintaining eye contact. And that's something that I really look for, is spend most of your time, or at least 50% of your time, looking at the camera lens. I know it's boring. I get it, but it is something that just makes it a little bit easier for the audience to relate to you. Altogether, I really enjoyed your experience, your speech thoroughly. I really appreciated you bringing forward something about the Queen, especially the personal example. Thank you very much for your speech tonight. Looking forward to similar speeches from you in the future.
Wow. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Darling. Evaluations build up a speaker's confidence and abilities, and you also help us because you just gave that on-the-spot impromptu speaking evaluation. Thank you again. Now, help me welcome evaluator number 2, Toastmaster Mariana, and he will be evaluating speaker number 2, Tricia Smith.
Toastmaster Tricia Smith, if I summarize your speech in 3 words, they are insightful, inspiring, and incredible. Allow me to raise 3 advantages and 3 humble suggestions. The first advantage, mission accomplished. You are required to speak about an aspect of the lessons learned meeting and your experience as a group leader, which you did completely and appropriately. Well done and congratulations. The second, your voice projection. It was articulate and far-reaching and echoed through online. It made you majestic and commanding. The third, you explain them the theme logically and persuasively, using the easy words and phrases and with interesting episode. Now, let me give you some suggestions, 3 suggestions. The first is slow down the speed. You speak too fast. I think speakers in Toastmasters should be aware that there are many people who learn English as a second language and whose hearing skill are not so good, like average or less than average, like me. Therefore, it would be desirable to slow down to fit your speed to the general listener, an average listener. The second is humor. Think of effective use of humor to change the academic tone of your presentation. I suggest you would try to make the people laugh to keep their attention around you. That makes the speech more stylish and attractive. The third, time management. You talk too many things, cut some sidelines, and slim the speech. But overall, your speech is wonderful. In summation, 1, slow down. 2, humor. 3, be extra sensitive with time. I wish my feedback will help you skyrocket your speaking skill. Buckle up and try hard because, as you said in the beginning, you never stop learning until you die. Back to Madam Toastmasters of the evening.
All right. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you, Toastmaster Maruyama, for giving great feedback and reminding us that sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. So let's get on with this game of life. Next, it's important to get your message across in the allowed time and for the meeting to run according to schedule. Our timer, David Carr, will now report on how we've done with time and making sure that everyone has met their time requirement. And if so, please take that moment to sing your vote for Best Speech Evaluator to vote counter Carolina. Thank you, Timer David, for being our all-star timer. Did everyone meet their time?
Yeah, Rick meant his time by the virtue of the fact that Mr. Big Shot, presentation technology expert, screwed things up and lost track of the time. But Toru was definitely within time, and they both did a great job. So vote for either one.
Wonderful. Do you do your timing now for all the rest?
We did the timing along the way, so
okay.
I think we're covered.
Thank you very much. Yep. Next, we'll hear from our grammarian wordmaster, Kim Leeming. She's been listening for good uses of the language as well as points for improvement. Please give your report.
Thank you so much. So today's theme of the day, as we all know, was favorite sports. And it turned out to be a really fun topic. The word of the day, sportsmanship, was not used too often. However, the concept of sportsmanship was weaved throughout the entire meeting. So let me go through some great examples. David, tip of the day. Well, first I want to say that you gave me the chance to show great sportsmanship by demonstrating your tip of the day so graphically. And also, I want to commend you for your graphics on the timer. I love that red was a sports car and they all were with the sports ball, all very sports themed. Loved it. Great job. Graham, you cheered as you took over the virtual podium. I love that. Great sportsmanship. And Christine, very visual description of your racing background by including the phrase that you were behind the wheel as well. I also love that you cheered, hoorah. Jim, competitive drinking. What can I say? That whole concept is just awesome. And Your description of the thousands of years old hieroglyphics was a great visual description of competitive drinking. I think you kind of stretched a bit. You probably were drinking when you saw them. And I love that you said nobody can remember what the rules are. Yow, no pain, no gain. Great sports phrase. Sunny, go team, all-star team to give feedback. Love that phrase. And you also get a special mention. I don't know how many people caught it, but it looked like you had a noisemaker to cheer on. So use of props, special mention. Toru, buckle up and try very hard. Love it. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Well, thank you, Grammarian and Wordmaster Kim. We thank you for your report. And you had great sportsmanship yourself. Our watcher is Marianne. She's had her eyes on all of us. Please give us your report.
Well, I'm happy to report that everyone is centered and well lit in their spot. I did want to compliment more than half of us were using a sports background. It's very rare when so many people use a related background to our topic of the night. So well done, everybody. And I did want to give Toru a tip because often, Toru, I see that you're leaning in and we are seeing the top of your head when you're talking. So my suggestion would be, and this is something I learned when the pandemic first hit and we started doing this, I was putting my computer up on a box to get it higher so I didn't have to lean down and look at on my desktop. And ultimately, I bought a computer stand. So my computer sits up at eye level, so I'm not looking down like that. But everyone looked terrific tonight. And by the way, Toru, I loved your evaluation. Just had to add that in. Not my job tonight, but back to you, Sunny.
All right, well, thank you very much for the watcher report, Marianne. Next, the odd counter, tracking the use of verbal pauses, those ahs and ums that come out of our mouths while we think of the next thing to say. Our Wizard of Oz counter is Andre Smolenko. What do you have for us, Andre?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I know that we are running tight on time, so I will be brief. I picked two most commonly used crutch words from our club. First one is so, and the second one is and. And the people who commonly use those words are Kim Limin, then Tricia Smith, and Jason Yo. I know, Jason, it's your first speech, so don't mind me. Still, pay a little bit more attention to using words so that often. And the word and is just in our advanced club. Perhaps we could use it slightly less or use alternative. Carolina Ramirez, please a little bit more attention to using that words. And again, Tricia Smith. Overall, we are advanced club and it was pleasure. Nice and easy job for me to do. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andre. Next, we'll have our chat monitor, Chatty Jim Barber. He's going to give us his chat monitor report. Jim?
With pleasure, Madam General Evaluator. The chat this evening was an example of good sportsmanship. Aha, I got it in. Let's see, in official things, let's see, Andy listed the club needs for the Distinguished Club program in the chat. There is also going to be an officers meeting on Sunday, October 9th at 7 p.m. That's documented in the chat. David Carr shared a number of links to Facebook, our blog, and so on like that. I'm not going to go through and list them all. Check them out in the chat. And finally, it's worth mentioning that Graham coined the term Carpe TM. I like that for Rosina's first time as seizing the day as Toastmaster of the Day this evening. I like that. I think that should be on a coffee mug. And that's my chat monitor report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Chatty Jim. Now I'll give my quick overall evaluation of the meeting. We started on time. We had a few strikes at the very beginning. Toastmaster Kim shared her tech challenges. And of course, by now, you know, you just got to just make sure that you either have a little bit of practice or you come early before the game. And David also had issues with the time cards, but boy, was he able to rebound. Loved your creative use of timing cards. Also, our speaker, Tricia, were you trying to just illustrate some more tech issues for David? I don't know if anyone else caught it, but she actually had her presenter view of her slides instead of the regular view, but it all went well.
Next time.
Toastmaster of the day, you knocked your role out of the park. We had two great speakers on leadership and on winning. And our table topic master, Graham Kern, had great sports themes questions and made sure everyone who didn't have big roles went first. I think that's really great. In the interest of time, I'm going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster of the day, but I just remembered our vote counter, Carolina Ramirez, has been tallying your votes. So Carolina, please give us the results. We want winners.
And the winners are drums, best speaker, Carl Walsh. Best table topic speaker, Jim Barber. And best evaluator, Rick Darling. Congratulations to the winners. Back to you.
Congratulations, everyone. Carolina, great job. Thank you to my dream team for helping me be an evaluator, a general evaluator after so many years with this club. So thank you. That concludes the general evaluation segment. Let's welcome back our Carpe Diem Toastmaster of the day, Rosina Duncanson. Woohoo!
Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Sunny, Fritz, and your dream team. This here brings my time with you to a goal. I want to hand it back over to our president, distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, Sunny, and welcome to the club. I believe with our new members that were initiated into the club, we have now met that goal, as I indicated in the chat box. So way to go. You'll see all the areas where we can need some help. I'm sure you're just knocking down, particularly when you have members that are in 7 and 8 clubs, that you're having lots of completions and probably finish all 11 paths before you go too far. So we'd be happy to receive those points. And that is where we are at this point in time. We will continue to upgrade you with information as it comes by and opportunities. We are aggregating different programs that other districts are having to let you be aware of them so that you can pop into them as well. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, Rosita Duncanson.
Thank you so much.